So this is our first episode of Evan's podcast. I just realized we don't have a name for the podcast.
Yes, we haven't named the podcast.
There will be a name for the podcast by the time you're listening to this.
Yes, and it will be epic, I'm sure.
It's going to be so amazing. I can't say how amazing it's going to be, but I'm going to set the expectations really high.
I bet you we'll have Evans in it, though, because we're pretty narcissistic about putting our name on everything.
Hence Evans. I'm wearing Evans, yeah.
So you should see my underwear.
Evans.
There's Evans all over it.
There's Evans on our notepads, everything.
Count how many Evanses.
So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about Evan's vision, the core values, more specifically the core values, because the vision is like...
Yeah, we don't have time for that. We're going to just focus on the core values today.
Right, just the core values.
Yeah.
So... why don't you tell us what the core values are for Evans?
I didn't write those down. How will I ever remember what they are?
Well, how about just telling us? I know sometimes...
Well, it's to get to that point, the core values are actually different in each company. So there's 3 companies and there's 3 complete different sets of core values.
Okay, that's interesting.
That is interesting. I think, because you'd think that they would be consistent. But in there's a theme throughout them, but each company has different personality traits, so to speak, of what the key people are and what the people who are drawn to that company are.
Right.
For example, the number 1 trait in Evans Trucking is positive attitude. And helpful, serving, and kind is another one, and striving for excellence is another one. Whereas in Evans HD, work ethic is one of the main themes within that thing, because they're a hard driving, high performance culture. It's just the way that their culture is. It's like, whereas I'm not saying we're not hard driving and hard working in Evans Trucking, but it's not as key to the culture of the company. There's just a different theme to that, right?
And that makes sense. Yeah, because different people will be drawn to each industry in a different way, right?
Yeah, and just the culture of the company becomes what it is, especially as it gets bigger. Like if you say that person has to have exceptional work ethic, but you're really good with an average Joe type guy filling out forms in the corner there, well, then that isn't necessarily true. Right. Your core values need to be absolutely fundamentally true. You got to use them. You're going to use them for everything. So if they don't apply to certain things, then they're fluffy. You're just going to hear me use that word a lot, fluffy, because I think that's a vibe and a complaint I get back from people when I talk about core values a lot, that they think that it's fluffy. That it's like, well, yeah, everybody's got core values, but so what? Yeah. Right. Because a lot of companies don't actually implement their core values really. Yeah. Which kind of gets to the why, right? Like the why do you have core values? Why are they important? And I'd say from a perspective of fluffy, this thing's still on my way. Fluffy is like core values. It's fluffy. It's blah. It's intangible. It doesn't like have substance to it, because people are so used to people's core values not having substance. So integrity on the wall, quality. And these are good words. I love those words. I think they're important, but they tend to not mean anything at the end of the day in a lot of these other companies. Whereas I believe that core values, although seemingly fluffy and visionary and whatever, and like very doers hate the idea of core values and until they've gone through the process, a lot of my key people are doers, and to get them to sit down and do a core value exercise is like, just shoot me, please. Yeah. Like I got work to do. I got freaking work to do. Like just let me out of this. But by the time we finished it, they get it. Right. And the reason is that it's not fluffy, it's foundational. Right. And it, like we were talking before, if you don't have a strong, honest, appropriate core value foundation, you can't build your company. You build your company on top of your core values. And so if you want to build a skyscraper that has layers and layers and layers of people and things moving and going, and it becomes a massive, healthy organization, people make big organizations without good core values, but typically they're very unhealthy and they have a lot of problems that they don't need to deal with. No core values, they're fragile. There's drama, there's politics, there's issues, there's people, there's clashing, churning. Whereas if you have that foundation, you can comfortably build on top of it, and it will work, and it will stay sturdy. It will stay strong all the way. Where if you don't have good core values, it gets ricketier and more loose and falling apart. The more it becomes, the more horrible it becomes in a matter of speaking. It takes on a monstrous personality of its own because it's not intentional.
Yeah. Well, and you said about foundation and building upon it. I mean, that probably goes down even to like hiring people, right? You're probably using your core values in order to vet the proper people who align with those core values.
Absolutely. So when you have core values, you need to use it like a tool. Why is it important? Because it is the most important tool you're going to have in your toolbox. You're going to use it to hire. You're going to use it to fire. You're going to use it to reward. You're going to use it to reprimand. You're going to use it to understand why problems exist. Yeah. Why is this person not fitting into our company? If you have the correct core values, you will be able to within seconds go, oh, that guy isn't striving for excellence, or that guy doesn't have good work ethic, or that guy has a super negative attitude, and a positive attitude is key here. And then you'll go boom, boom, boom. That's why that guy doesn't fit. Makes sense. Ipso facto, they need to move along, or they need to improve those things. And that's how we're going to fix the problem. It is the tool that diagnoses and solves the issues in your company.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that you're probably referring back to your core values fairly often.
Yes.
In order to actually see how it's working, seeing what's going on.
Oh yeah.
Diagnosing problems.
People in our organization, they got to internally roll their eyes at me because I am talking about it all day, every day. Almost every scenario. It's like, we're going to make a decision on whether we take this job or not. Okay, well, how does our core values affect that? Is that job suiting our core values? Well, it seems ridiculous, but when you create the right set of core values and the right tools, it answers so many questions. It is the number one tool in your toolbox if you do it right.
Okay, so can you give me like an example? Give me maybe even a couple examples of how you would use it day in, day out. Obviously, I think we already touched on like hiring people, right? What other ways are you using it in order to...
Yeah, well, anytime there's a problem. If you have no problems, then you don't need core values. You're good. But I don't know any companies that don't have problems every day. So if a team has some issues or some tension or some instability, we go, okay, well, what core values are being broken or not being exemplified here that cause a problem? We're working with a customer, having a lot of problems with that customer. Well, how does that customer not connect with our core values? How do we need to communicate our core values to them? And not in a fluffy way, like in a very tangible way. It's like, hey, you guys don't appreciate quality or do excellent work. And the reason why when we send a truck into your thing and you sit him in your yard for 4 hours and then treat him like crap, and then he doesn't ever want to go back and do that for you guys again, is because you don't align with our core values. We don't treat our people that way. We don't waste people's time, and we do an excellent job. You don't have a system that works here, and you guys are doing a terrible job, and we need you to do better, right? You're not hitting our core values, right? We have a trade at one of our construction sites, and they're frustrated like crazy with that tradesperson or leader or whatever. And they go, okay, well, what's the problem? Well, core values. Well, if impressive and excellent is one of our core values, is that guy impressive and excellent? No. Okay. Well, is he a selfless team player? Oh, no. Guess what? He doesn't. He's a one-man show, thinks he knows it. Is he humble and confident? No, he's an arrogant asshole. Bleep. So you can pick off, okay, well, that's why we don't like him. So either he has to become that to continue to work with us, or we need to find someone else. And then the problems go away. Right? And one of the real realizations for that for me was when we actually first did our core values in Evans Trucking, and we realized that 2 or 3 of our top performing money-making truck drivers didn't meet core values whatsoever. We knew that they were a pain in the neck and stick in the mud and that they caused some tension. But when you went through the core values and realized, okay, these guys are like a disaster core values wise, and in the end had to let them go, and through a process of trying to get them to meet the core values, communicating the core values and creating expectations. And when they didn't do that, we literally let go our best, highest performing, good operating truck drivers because their core values did not align with their company, and we were better off for it in the long run. Yeah. But it's hard to tell yourself that when it's really, really hard to find good guys that operate trucks and will work for you.
Yeah.
And they're making you money. because that's the one that people always go, but they're making me money, but it's a profitable venture, but and so they let their core values go out the window for trading it for performance or profitability, but it also ultimately holds you back in the long run when you're building this foundation that when you tolerate the breaking down of your foundation and build on top of it, it's going to collapse eventually, or it's just going to stop. Like you're going to get to points like, I can't put any more floors on this thing. It won't hold. I know it won't hold. I know that this floor is going to drop out, or this thing's going to crack and break, or whatever. Well, that's what tolerating the non-alignment of core values within your organization leads to.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that very much. And you must have to, when you're implementing the core values or even coming up with them, I have a sense as you're talking is that you probably really have to have a vision for the future of what you want, the vision of what you're hoping to accomplish in your business, and then allowing, because making money. Oh, they're making me lots of money. Okay, well, what else? There's pain points, right? And so there's probably things like, well, they're not very nice. There's a cost to that.
Yeah.
Right. But if you have like honesty, integrity, that kind of stuff.
Well, when you go to culture, it's whatever the lowest level that you'll tolerate, that becomes the floor of your culture. So if Jerry sits beside Carl, and Jerry's a high performing killer guy, he's got the work ethic, he's got the positive attitude, he's got the this, he's got the that, he's hitting all your core values, helpful, serving, and kind, he's striving for excellence. And then Carl is over here on his phone, showed up late for work this morning, and he's just grumbling all day long and bringing the vibe down in the room. And you sit Carl beside whomever I named this guy, Jerry. You sit them beside each other, but you're going to tolerate Carl's performance. You're going to find his core values. You're going to find that this level being set by Jerry is going to slowly creep down. And Jerry might have a really strong personality and a really strong ability, but the fire in him that keeps those values high is going to go away, because for what? Right? This is how it's going to be here. Then what good is me doing it? And they're slowly going to just fizzle out. Right. Whereas if you tell Carl, hey, Carl, you got to step it up. You got to have a positive attitude. You got to show up on time. You got to do this. You're not going to tolerate that time of difference. And eventually you move Carl out. Jerry's going to be emboldened to be even more on top of those things, because you're also going to reward him. You're going to reprimand him. You're going to reward him. And you're going to spend time focusing on the people who are doing the right things, which will breed more of it within your company. And guess what? When you remove Carl, Jerry tells you about his brother's cousin who would fit in really good here. And then you get another guy that fits your culture because he wants to protect that culture because he loves it. Yeah.
Well, and I can sense that there's a lot of what you tolerate becomes the lowest common denominator.
Absolutely.
100%. And if you have, if your boss, and this has happened to me before in other jobs, is if your boss tolerates, someone who shows up late, doesn't do a lot of work, me as a high performer that likes to show up on time, that does it, well, if he's getting away with that, I mean, what am I busting my hump for?
Yeah. How is it going to benefit me? It might benefit the organization, but the organization clearly doesn't care.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And if they don't care, why should I care?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you communicate the value of core values? How do you communicate that to people at all levels of
it's something we talk about a lot in our leadership teams, because it's actually pretty hard. Like, you can put a sticker on a wall if you want, but it doesn't mean anything. And that's what everyone else kind of does that doesn't work. We have them in places within our organization, but to me, it is talking about them. It is exemplifying them. Like I say, like you can give something lip service, you can say it all day long, but if you don't live it, you don't believe it. Yeah. Right? If you don't live it, you don't believe it. And if you don't put that out there, then people are going to believe you. And if you don't believe it and they don't believe you, it ain't going to happen. You got to have belief tied to that. People got to see it, feel it, understand it. It needs to be exemplified. All the people within your company that are on leadership level need to communicate it. They need to show it. Yeah.
It's a tool, right?
It's a tool, and it is a culture. It is who you are. If it's not who you are, then it's not your core values, right? And if, like, on our leadership team, if you're not 100% Like,
Yeah.
excellent on all core values, you're not a leader in this company. It's that simple. You can't be. You're incapable
Yeah.
of leading, because again, the bar happens. If you're in leadership, you ain't going to get anyone that will work under you that is going to be operating at a higher bar than you are. It's very rare, almost impossible.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So the other thing is, to me, is that I think a lot of people are missing us how. Because it's like, okay, yeah, great. You guys have great core values. Good for you. How did you come about that? How did you do that? And in the early days of these companies, I really struggled with what it is that we needed that was missing from our company. And yeah, we had good values and we exemplified them within our family and within our leadership, but they weren't decided by a team. They weren't expressed. They weren't communicated, and they weren't used as a tool. Absolutely weren't used as a tool, right? And so we started a program called EOS, which is Entrepreneurial Operating System, which you're going to hear me refer to it a lot in our podcast, I presume, because I love it and I think it works great. But there's an exercise within it where you start a leadership team. So you pick your department heads or the people who exemplify what you want in your company and who are going to be a board essentially for leading your company. And then you do this exercise for core values. And the exercise is basically, there's two phases of it. One, who's our best people? Who's our favorite person? Who's the guy that is just like mascot of the company, right? And if you're big enough, you have a couple of them. And then you go, okay, why? Why do you love that guy? Why does everybody love that guy? What is it about him that makes him awesome? And you start just listening. You get on the whiteboard and you just start listing. That he's got good work ethic. He's got a positive attitude. He's smart. He's knowledgeable. He's experienced. He is kind. He laughs a lot. Has a good sense of humor. He's fun. He's like, and I just did this exercise yesterday with one of my teams. And we filled the board, 20, 30 things. And so we did this employee. We actually did trades that work on our site. Who's our favorite guy that comes and works at our company, and why do we love him? Right? We did that for a few. And then I took each person from the leadership team and I said, hey, why do we love this person? You're here for a reason. What is it that is great about you? What is it great about you? And then everyone else on the team said the things they loved about the person, which is also a good team building exercise.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we filled the board right full. Okay, once you get to that point, we do an exercise adaptation called keep, kill, or combine. Right. So this is important. We can't let it go. Absolutely need to keep it. Kill, it's too specific. It doesn't apply to everyone, or it's a pay to play. So that means that, like, okay, if you're a liar, you obviously can't work here. It's not a core value. Like even honesty, it always is up there, but it never holds to core values, because like if you're not honest, we just don't want you. It's like, that's not a personality thing. Like that's just that you have to have that, or else you better not even apply. Yeah. And then combine. So a lot of things, words like integrity and honesty and consistency, or fun, sense of humor, positive attitude, those types of things. Sometimes they mean the same thing or can be packaged into another word that makes better. So we often say quality, I don't know, lots of words that mean quality. There are going to be 5 words that mean quality. Yeah. We often end up on excellence or impressiveness, right, as a word that kind of encompasses. So then you can combine multiple things, and you'll find that same traits get said in different formats, but they can be combined into one. Yeah. And so then you whittle that down until you get that list. And we're looking for 5 to 7 core values, because if it gets to be too many, I've seen as high as 10. But like they start being diluted, and you can just say every good thing on there if you want, but it's not really the personality of your company. You want it to be very much just you. This is what sets us apart. This is what makes us special, right?
It's easier to remember too.
Yeah, and it's 5. Easier to remember. Like if there's 10 of them and you can't even repeat them, then they just get lost. Like they don't carry that meaning unless they're distilled, right?
It's hard to come off the cuff. In applying it, implementing it, if it's you're constantly having to engage memory centers, cognitive ability, just to come up with a list, right? Yeah. So then you having a core list makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So then you get it down, and honestly, from 10, 12 down to 7 or 5 is it can be the bulk of the meeting, because you have arguments between people about what's important, what's not, and how it matters and how it doesn't. And it's good actually that people are passionate about it, because then it really matters, right?
Yeah.
So I think that it's really important that that we really debate those down until we all really feel good about what's left, right? And, there might be a few people that are just a little upset because they really wanted communication on the list. And we said that it wasn't like that key of a thing, or it wasn't unique enough or whatever, but it mattered.
Yeah. Okay. You said debate. So you're debating these points, these different words that make up your core value.
Yeah.
And you're struggling through it. I mean, even including the other businesses in that process and having them go through this edifying, process of what do we love about you? What do we love about people we work with that aren't even a part of our company, but exemplify our values?
Yeah.
I find that those kind of practices are really important, because that's the humanized part of it. We're working as humans. I think sometimes in industry you get caught up in numbers, and it's just like,
people aren't robots.
Exactly. And even to your point, well, this guy makes us a lot of money. Okay, maybe he makes us a lot of money, but everybody's miserable working here.
Yeah.
With this guy, because
it's not about one person. Yeah. No, the girls never do that.
But yeah, but doing that kind of process it instills it in people's minds that, oh, these people care about people, and they care about the right kind of people, especially.
Well, and if it's not unique enough, you won't know who you're looking for.
Yeah.
Like it needs to be like, there needs to have a personality to your core values. It needs to be more than just the general things, because it needs to mean something to people there. They need to resonate with it. They need to be a little bit like, you need to have some passion about the core values. Is like that we are excellent, or that we're impressive, or that we're kind, or that we're generous, or whatever it is. They need to they need to go, yeah, that's totally it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They got to really, which must be really hard to communicate.
Oh, yeah, it is.
It's probably gets more difficult the further down the chain of command, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, to me, I always go to, I really pay attention for feedback from other people, or things people said that they said. So someone say, hey, I was talking to so-and-so, and they came to your building and touched your company, and they worked with you guys, and they were so impressed with this. Or like, not necessarily the direct thing, but the indirect comments. Okay, what are the words they use, right? Like, what are the things that that they just got a feeling and they had to somehow express that feeling outward? Okay, so then that's who we are. Yeah. We made them feel that way. Like, we need to be cognizant of how we make people feel. Yeah. Right? How do we make people feel? What do we want them to feel like when they're here? Yeah. And that's our core values. That's what we want to feel. What do you want to feel like when you're at work? Right? I want to be surrounded by kind people that care about me. Yeah. Like, it's good. That's what we want. So let's do it. I want to be able to trust people. I want to be able to, know that somebody's got my back. I want to know that, that I'm putting out a product that I can sell, that I love, because I'm like, this is an excellent product, and you will not be disappointed at all. 100%. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. If you don't believe it, then there's just really no point. And that's where that foundational part comes in too. You get everybody in your organization following that, and all of a sudden jobs become easier because I can put my neck out because I know so-and-so's got my back. Yeah. I can sell this product, whatever that product may be, because I know that it's quality. I can vouch for somebody because I know we all adhere to those core values, and it would be uncharacteristic of that person to not be following those. Yeah. Well, and the brand, like what does it stand for? How do I connect with it in a way that I can that I want to put Evan's Trucking on the shirt? Like, when I put the shirt on in the morning, I'm proud. When I go out and see my cousins and nieces and nephews at family dinner, you're wearing your company shirt. How do you create that kind of passion in people? Core values. Yeah. Why is Evan's Trucking awesome? Oh man, I love working there. Everyone's so happy and so kind. They have such positive attitudes, and they do such a good job of what we're doing, and we're making a difference in the world, and all these types of things. That it's the essence. Yeah. Right. And that comes from intentionally being and creating core values and sticking to them, using them. So the thing that I can't say enough about this, the practical advice of core values, is actually do the work to put down the foundation.
Right.
And that's the mistake I made for 10 years in the beginning of more than that, almost 15 years in the beginning of our business, is not like, I knew it was important. We had some mission statements and a little bit of something. And it wasn't enough. It wasn't clear. It wasn't like crystal clear and formatted in such a way it can be used as a tool. Like, people don't think core values is a tool. Core values is the most important tool in your toolbox. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Promise you.
I agree 100%. Yeah.
So actually do it, and then actually use it, and actually go back and re-go over your core values. So every quarter we do the core value exercise again, and a variation of it, where we look at the ones that exist and go, is that true? Are these right? Should we word them different? Is there anything wrong with these? Is there anything that isn't applicable here? Right? In our weekly meetings, we take people issues, and we use the core values to filter them. Okay, this person keeps coming up. We have a problem with them with the operations department. We have a problem with the finance department. We have a problem with the dispatch department. 3 people have complained about this guy. Okay, what is it? What core value is the problem? And you go, well, they said this, his paperwork's terrible. These guys said that he never shows up on time for his appointments. These guys said that he's rude, and he flies off the handle. Okay, well, he's not helpful, serving, and kind. He's not positive. He's not striving for excellence. Okay, well, that's 3 out of 7 we're failing, and I'm pretty sure he's probably not aligning with the rest of them. So I guess he doesn't fit here. Yeah. And then it'll go, well, what do we do with that? Well, we got to tell him what the problem is. It's not that you didn't do your paperwork.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty basic. It is that you didn't do your paperwork, but
that was a symptom of a greater. Yeah.
It's not the root. The root of the problem is that you're not helpful, serving, and kind. You're not striving for excellence, and your attitude's garbage. Yeah. That's the root of the problem. You fix those 3 problems, your paperwork's going to do itself. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people focus on those symptoms, and they're like, well, we just need to get the symptom fixed on this person, and then they should be glowing. And
just
it's
tell him he needs to finish his paperwork. Well, it'll be a different problem next week. Oh, he didn't do his paperwork. He's flying off the handle. Oh, he left his truck dirty in the yard, didn't wash it like everyone else did. Like, it's that there's a root problem, and you need to get to that root. And people are very surprised, especially if they've been a problem child at other places, that's where you go when you sit them down. And we told them when we hired them, these are the core values. These are important. And hopefully, if you're perceptive enough, or if you're doing your job right, that you filtered the majority of these problem people out and didn't hire them. But if they get past that and they get in the thing, and often they're really good for the first couple of months and things go okay, and then something clicks or something changes, and you haul them in and they go, oh, he's going to chew my butt for not doing my paperwork. And you say, Carl, here's our core values. These are the 3 areas that you're not hitting. This is important. This is no joke. This is everything. If you're not being helpful, serving, and kind, you're not trying to be excellent, and you're not going to have a positive attitude, you're not going to fit here. Yeah. And I want them for you, because I know your life's going to be better if you have a positive attitude, if you're helpful, serving, and kind, and you strive for excellence. You're going to be happier too. Yeah. I care about you, Carl. I want you to be these things, because I know it will lead to you living a fulfilling, purposeful, happy life.
It sounds like you have an actual example. Do you have an example of that? Like a real word? Like, you don't have to give names.
No, I've done it dozens of times. Yeah, dozens in the last few years, and it works. And they look across the table at you like, either you're an idiot, which is a good sign to probably just let them go, or you can have that guy break down in tears right in your office, a full grown man, and go, yeah, I've been really struggling with purpose, and I don't feel fulfilled, and I'm going through depression. And then you actually have an opportunity to talk to that guy about some actual root issues in his life, because you went there. Yeah. If you say, get your freaking paperwork done, Carl, I don't care if your wife left you.
You're a robot, and you're a robot, the right way.
And you don't have feelings, and you're not doing the things I want you to do, and it's irritating me. Yeah. You don't care about Carl. Yeah. Which it goes down to the root of who you are as a leader. Yeah. Like, you need to actually care about Carl. You want to actually see him do better. And in serving him, he serves the organization.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Well, it's making people known too, right? Like you're opening up there, because a lot of people I've found in my experience, they walk through life feeling that no one ever knows them. And then when all of a sudden, when someone expresses interest in knowing them, and like we're talking about core values, and these are things that are like, when you talk about core values, they're actually core value in a business, but also people.
It's very personal.
Yeah. And so when you're not dealing with symptoms anymore, you're dealing with roots. And when you start tugging on those roots.
Oh yeah. And then you've never been dug at in most people's lives.
Right. And some people probably don't even know themselves really all that well.
Yeah.
And when you start speaking truth and speaking life into somebody in that way, it's like, hey, this is a core value.
Yeah.
And we think you can attain it, and that we see this in you, and we see this in you.
Yeah.
That
you
can
need
actually
to communicate it in a non-condemning way.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that I always think with my kids is like, I don't hate the person, I hate the behavior. Right? Like this core value, you're behaving this way, and that's not acceptable. But I know you're a good person and that you want to be a good person. And I care and love you ultimately. And I want to see you succeed. If I didn't want to see you succeed, why did I hire you?
Yeah.
Right. Which to the giant corporations say, so you can make money off me.
Yeah.
But that's not what our companies are about. We are about people.
Yeah.
First.
Which
profit comes when you care about people first.
And I sense that we'll get to that issue on our next episode, probably when we talk about vision.
Yeah.
Of the
mission. We'll get into mission. We'll get into your why, the bigger picture, the thing, the overarching theme that's the more important than you part of your business that you should have figured out, that you should connect with in a very strong way. Absolutely. Core values is just one cog on a giant wheel of important things to care about. There's a lot of things to care about, which is why business and people are so hard. But it's foundational. You don't get this figured out, you're going to struggle with a lot of things way more than you need to. And I know, because I did. Yeah.
Well, you'll probably be a lot more reactionary, and you're going to be somewhat directionless, because you'll be reacting to things as they come in.
Yeah.
And then you'll end up taking steps along the way, reacting to little tiny symptoms. And 10 years down the road, you'll be like, how did we end up here? I have no idea what
solving
happened.
Symptoms, which you typically won't actually get solved. You'll just band-aid them. They're the bouncing back. They're the boomerang. Symptoms just kept coming back, coming back. And they can be different things along the way. But the problem with that is you don't solve the problem forever. If you in business can't figure out how to solve problems forever, to make a individual problem go away and never come back, you will hit a wall of progress. And the way to solve problems is to get to the root of the problem. Core values is taking you directly to the root of the problems. And the roots are always much simpler and broad than most people think, which is like attitude. Like it's a broad spectrum, but it's pretty simple. Like you have positive attitude or you have a negative attitude, and you are in control of that. And so you need to make good choices, and you need to work on that and care about it and be cognizant of your attitude and your emotions and all those things. It's a very broad spectrum, but the symptoms of it are even broader.
Well, so tell me if I'm right or wrong on this. Being able to see symptoms, having core values allows you to diagnose and maybe not solve, but heal
you're pulling the root up.
Yeah. And so having core values actually helps get rid of a lot of symptoms that are happening. Because you're actually dealing with root problems. Like
if you want to take the metaphor even farther, like if you got dandelions in your grass in your yard and you go and mow it, the dandelions go away. But you got to mow it like every 3 days to make it look like there's no dandelions, and they're still there.
And I've found that they actually...
they'll duck under the mower sometimes.
Exactly, that they actually just grow a shorter
And
root.
how much work do you have to do? Like you're mowing them every 3 days, and you're just fighting, and you're spending time and energy and gasoline and resources and all these things mowing to keep the dandelions out. But if you go get the little tool and pull each dandelion one at a time, and do you know it's a lot harder to take that tool out and take one dandelion out at a time. That's going to take you all day. Right? But once you get all of the dandelions, You might have one or two once in a while that you have to dig out,
Yep.
but your lawn looks good all the time, and you mow it once a week.
Yeah. True story. That's actually how I do my dandelions.
Yeah, I got the same tool.
I pull them out.
That's how you need to treat the issues in your business.
Yeah.
There's roots in those issues, and you cannot ignore the root, or it will grow back and grow back.
So essentially, that tool is a core value. The tool is a core value that's getting that root, pulling it out.
The core value is knowing that the root is there and where to go looking for it.
Yeah.
Right. And it is the tool analogy works too, because you're using your core value toolbox to go in and dig the root out. It's the thing that you need to find the root. Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And guess what? Dandelions, they multiply at a very alarming rate. And so do issues when the core values aren't dealt with.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So if we were to have one takeaway for somebody today, where they're going to go home and they're going to tell, maybe it's a person listening, they want to tell their boss, what's one thing that you'd want them to communicate?
Having core values solves problems is a big theme for this particular one for me, is that it solves your problems and it solves them for good for the most part. You will enjoy working at your business or where you work if you get your core values sorted out. And if you get your core values sorted out, find out what the core values of your business are and you don't align with them, that's why you don't like working there.
I guess that's another thing. What happens if you own the business and you don't like your business?
Then you need to do the work. You got a 100-acre field of dandelions is what you got, right?
Oh man!
And this is the reason why you need to do core values early. Like we just did a core value exercise with our construction company, which is 4 people. It seems almost ridiculous to have an all-day meeting about vision and values and mission and all these types of things. Spent literally 8 hours going through that with 4 people on a company that's only 4 people. But guess what? Everyone said it. Well, it's sure great to get this nailed down now so that when we hire the next 3, 4, 5 people, that we know what we're looking for and we are not going to have to go through the heartache and trauma of getting the wrong person and then having to deal with the drama and then let them go. And then you don't get traction. You have to wade and machete your way through the jungle of horrible learning experiences, which most businesses do because they don't get that figured out early.
Yeah.
You just create yourself a nice super highway to success by getting your core values going.
It's a little bit of front end work for being able to launch off of in the future.
Well, it's really hard work to put in a foundation.
It is, yeah.
But hey, I don't need a foundation. I got some 2x4s. 2x4s are right there. Yeah. Let's build the house. This ground's pretty hard. Yeah. Till it rains.
And then you got issues.
And it's the cliche analogy, but it's just once you do it right and you see it in action, you begin to believe it. There's a reason why people say it.
Yeah.
Core values are the foundation of a successful organization.
I think I agree. Thank you so much for listening to our first episode.
Yeah.
Our next one will likely be mission or
vision.
Yeah. Maybe a combination.
Yeah, and we're going to flesh it out as we go here, but we're going to try and, minimum put out 1 podcast a month, but we might sneak in a couple little ones here and there too if we get good opportunities to put something together.
I agree. Thanks, Jory.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler.